Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. Let's meet your hosts, Chris Angel and Michael Maher.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Referrals Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, as always, Michael J. Maher. Michael.
What's up? It's Referrals Podcast time.
Why did you put J in the name? Is it like just so we don't confuse it with Michael M. Maher or Michael P. Maher?
So there was actually a Michael Maher already in my marketplace in Kansas City.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So I went with the J, and it just became Michael J. Maher. And there was actually, you want to hear something really funny? I mean, Maher is more common than you might think. There's quite a few Maher. In fact, I just got back from playing at Kansas City Royals fantasy baseball camp down in Arizona. There were more Mahers out of the 108 players. There were 4 Mahers, M-A-H-E-R. We were all related but distant cousins.
You're the only one I know.
Yeah. So there was actually not only a Michael Maher, there was also a Mike Maher.
I think
so Mike Maher, Michael Maher, and then I became Michael J. Maher, and MichaelJMaher.com was available. So I took MichaelJMaher.com and I became Michael J. Maher.
Well, if there was ever another Michael J., then we would have to add a prefix or a suffix, maybe like Sir Michael J. Maher or Michael
I've been called a lot of things. That middle name, luckily I got to choose the J because I think other people might choose different things. So I'll tell you. I have to give a big shout out to Stacy Jewett out of Illinois. She is a huge podcast listener. She has listened to all of our podcasts. She's watched every single one of our YouTube videos at 7L TV. And she's seeing a lot of referrals because of it. And I just had to shout out to her. Courtney Wagner, I need to give a shout out to. I just spoke in Arizona. I spoke 10 times in a week. I love to speak.
Wow.
Please hire me to speak. And Courtney was at one of the events, and she has listened to every one of the podcasts while jogging during her morning ritual. So this is a big shout out to her. Today she's going to have a little extra jump in her, a little extra bounce in her step because she's going to hear her name on this podcast going out to lots of people. So big shout outs there. And then the number one thing about today, right, is that, one of the top questions of the internet, if you want to break the internet, just post this in a real estate group. If I were moving to a new area and I didn't know what to do, what should I do, right? So that's like the number one question that you get out there. And so we're going to give that answer today, right? So we're going to give that answer.
We're actually going to give the answer away?
Yeah. So, wow. So we're gonna break the internet, and this podcast becomes the one that all of our listeners can refer to. Like when somebody asks that question, just post referralspodcast.com/Shawn Woods, right? And it's gonna answer their questions. So
love it.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this, and I've seen Shawn's success firsthand.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for her to share her story.
Well, that's a great segue to bring Shawn in. Hello, Shawn. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Chris.
I've been seeing your monarch butterfly hatchings on Facebook, which has been exciting to see.
Yeah, talk about breaking the internet. I had no idea that would be so popular.
Yeah, isn't that funny? The things we enjoy watching on Facebook.
Well, all right. So the symbolism of a butterfly, right? What's the symbolism of a butterfly, Shawn? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I'm emerging from my chrysalis. I was a caterpillar, and now I'm flying.
Transformation, right?
Yeah.
So the butterfly is a symbol for transformation, which catalyst, is create authentic transformation and launch your success today. And authentic transformation just means transform to your ideal authentic self. And it's transformation. And for a lot of people, this session today is going to be transformational. So they see a butterfly, we think transformational, and I'm looking forward to it.
Wow, we got deep really fast right there. I love it. Well, Shawn, give us a little backstory in terms of like how long have you been in real estate? Where were you? Where did you move to? Right from to all that. Just give me some of that backstory really quick.
Okay, so backstory. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 27, started in restaurants. That was my real job. In college, I flipped houses. I thought, well, now I've got my degree, gotta, do something. So I was in restaurants, and I've been in the hospitality industry, living in California, and through a series of events, like the universe saying, hey, listen up here. We came to one day where there were these fires in our neighborhood, and we had to evacuate our house. And that was in October 2017. And it was kind of the final straw to this series of events that were kind of pushing us in this one direction. And we finally looked at each other and said, we got to do something different. So we started downsizing and packing up and figuring out what we're going to do. And my husband went to high school in Florida, and his mother lives here and his sisters. And we said, it's always kind of been a fantasy to live in Florida. I love the tropical vibe. It's just so cool. It's so different than anything I've ever had in California. And we said, well, that might be a consideration. So we came down to visit, and I didn't really intend to move here, but then another series of events happened, and we said, okay, well, there it is. Let's go. And we did, and we haven't looked back since.
You're in North Palm Beach, Florida, right?
Yeah, it's about an hour north of Fort Lauderdale. So it's South Florida. It's very tropical, palm trees, turquoise waters, the whole thing.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
North Palm Beach is in South Florida.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
West Palm Beach is on the East Coast.
No, West Palm Beach is 15 minutes south of us. So it's a differentiation from Palm Beach, right? Where the president lives.
I got you,
Here's the
Michael.
other thing I forgot about Shawn Woods. She's funny. She's like got a great sense of humor. I forgot that. And here's the other thing. Like, some people like evacuate fires and go to their mom's, which is 30 minutes away. Like, Shawn and her husband is just Florida. It's we're here. We're gonna we're here. We're gonna evacuate to
Down here.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So nice evacuation.
You like it? You like it?
So you've been there how long now?
We arrived February 1st of 2017.
So 2 years. So basically 2 years.
No, 2018. No,
2018.
2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you've been there a
So
year.
1 year. Yeah,
Wow.
1 year. And I got here, and I'm like, oh boy, what am I going to do now? And I said, well, okay, I flipped houses. We were trying to flip houses again in California, and that kind of didn't work out because they burned down. And, I'm a feng shui practitioner. I'm really into interiors and helping flow of things. I had recently helped 2 family members move into assisted living and have to downsize and sell their houses, and saw that whole process. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually kind of good at that. And so I got here and I said, I'm going to get my real estate license, because everyone who helped me when I was selling those houses, I'm like, they could have done a little bit better job, or I could have done a better job interviewing them.
So common. Do you know how common that is?
You got licensed in Florida.
Yeah.
To flip houses? Was that your focus?
No, well, yeah, that was kind of my focus, because I said, I've got this whole investor network that I've built up in California, and I know all these people, and it's like, well, they can't really invest their money in California because it takes a lot. And, here the buy-in is a little lower. And so I said, well, maybe that's something I could do, like market houses back to people in my meetup groups back there.
Yep.
So I thought about that, but then I went full on. I went to the 1-day course where you sit there for 7 days, like 8 hours a day, and then you take the course.
Yeah.
And then I passed that exam, got out. The next week was my birthday. So not taking the real estate exam on my birthday. So the following week, March 14th, I went, sat for the exam, passed it, and then immediately hung my license with an agency that I knew had really great education. And then got in, they have some programs there, took their classes, got with a trainer, and started going. But what I was finding was some of the methods they promote just weren't resonating with me. It just, I'm like okay.
What did they promote? What did they promote that didn't set well? Like
calling FSBOs. These people are already telling the world they don't want to work with an agent. I mean, yes, they should, but it was just kind of like, I felt like I was chasing after people that didn't want to be chased. And it just seemed really hard. And then I just kept immersing myself in education, and I went to Lead Generate Like a Millionaire. It was taught by this guy, Jake Yancarelli, on the west coast of Florida. Super cool. And he just brought up this one little topic in his thing. Power note. He's like, I learned this awesome thing, power note. And he started talking about it, and he wrote down all the steps. And I'm like, I could so do that. That's my gig. I collect stationery. I write notes all the time. People think I'm odd because I write thank you notes, and they didn't do anything for me. And I'm like, I could totally own this. So I couldn't wait to get out of there. Came home, looked up this really cool guy, Michael J. Maher, and saw that he had this book.
What?
Yeah,
What?
saw that he had this book.
Oh, hold a second. Lead
This
Generate
book
Like a Millionaire.
right here.
Who taught that course? Jason who?
Jake Yancarelli. He's on the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Yeah.
It's the great retrace right there.
I need to reach out and say thank you, by the way.
Yeah. And he said this is one of his 3 ways, and in our company, they teach you always have 3 ways of generating income. And that was one of the ways. And I'm like, I'm on it. I'm going to do that. Start right away. So I came home, got the book, and read it cover to cover. And then I'm like, I so need more of this. Like this is me. I know how to do events. That's how I survived. I catered. I had restaurants. Like, man, this guy's reading my mind. So I just thought, what a great blueprint for doing things, which leads me to like, okay, so where am I at today? Coming here to Florida, just not knowing anybody and trying to do exercises. I also read The Miracle Morning, heard about that book at another lesson I was at, read that and said, okay, that's going to provide some discipline for my life. So I started doing it. My E, which is exercise, was, working out in my backyard in my pool because it was low impact. And I said, you're not going to meet anybody sitting in your house all day in your office. Like, you got to get out there. So I started volunteering. I started volunteering to pick up trash at the Marine Life Center. And I went there thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to meet so many people, like-minded people. But I went there and everyone was already sort of like in their little groups, and they just went off and did their own thing. And so here I was just all by myself picking up my trash. So I started thinking, all right, I joined Friends of the Library, started meeting people there. They're having a book sale. And I said, oh, that's it. I'll meet the neighbors by seeing if they have books they want to donate. So I started going around, meeting all my neighbors, getting books, donating. I met a neighbor up the street, and she worked at a day school, and they usually just throw out or recycle their books. So she started bringing them to my house and dropping them on the doorstep, taking them in. One thing leads to another. We find out that we have mutual friends. We know similar people. My husband's friend went to the same high school. I mean, it all started falling into place. And then I also said, well, I have some really good skills. So I joined the neighborhood enhancement team, and that's made up of all of the civic entities in our neighborhoods. So police, fire, parks and rec, public works, and we all volunteer every quarter to do something. And we help people who are having a difficult situation, like fix up their houses. So March 16th, we have a Paint Your Heart Out event. It's sponsored by the Solid Waste Authority. And we go and we're going to help, revitalize someone's exterior of their home, bring some curb appeal to that. So through all of this, and it's all with the same people, it's a small town, so I'm getting to be known. But the thing that was a shock to me and a total surprise was picking up the trash. I just seeing it all at the beach and seeing how it impacts animals and nature. I said, well, how is it even getting to the ocean in the first place? Like, it's coming from somewhere. So I started walking in my neighborhood, and I started walking the canal. We're a canal community that hooks up with the intercoastal, which hooks up to the ocean. And I started seeing all this trash, and I'm like, I have a bucket. I've got a grabber. Let's go. So I started doing it. And then neighbors were asking me, do you work for the parks? So, you work for the city? I'm like, no, I'm just a neighbor doing this. And, I'm seeing them every day, seeing different people. They're all starting to talk to me. They're getting to know me, right? I'm familiar now, and asking me what's up. And then they started saying, you should really organize something like this. And I said, okay, I suppose I can do that. So I called the town to say, hey, neighbors are wanting me to do this. Do I need a permit? They're like, well, we'll get back to you. So of course I don't hear anything. A week later, I call back. So, hey, what's up? Do I need a permit? They're like, no, you don't need a permit. And as a matter of fact, we'd like to support you and sponsor you. So I got together with Public Works, and they helped supply supply me with some of the tools. Then through another friend who runs Friends of Palm Beach, she does cleanups down there. She's very well established. She got me in touch with a lot of people and hooked me up very quickly. So instead of reinventing the wheel, she just plugged me into all the right resources. I started going to different cleanups, seeing how they're operated, meeting all those people. And what I found is they are really interested in what I'm doing because no one is focusing on our waterways that surround so many of the Florida homes. Everyone's just like, beach, let's go to the beach. And it's like, once it's there, it's too late. So I've kind of created this unique niche. But my event, finally, we had this event.
Hold a second.
Yeah.
You've delivered like 9,000 gems. And I want to make sure that here's the thing. I could see like there's DISC, there's that high driven, short attention span, type of person. And they're like, oh, I can't wait for her to get to the content. Yeah. And I'm telling you, they missed it, right? They missed a ton of content. And this isn't just a way for someone to grow. I mean, you went from 0 to 250 people in your database in 1 year, right? And so the number one thing that you did, you got involved, right? You were thinking, I could clean up in a pool or my pool in the back area, or I could research groups in my area, right? And that's one of the things we talk about is one of the things we're giving away from this podcast is, how to go from passion to profit, right? How do you go from your passion to profit? And you were like, well, I'm passionate about this. And then you found out about the library opportunity. And it's like, that's an even better opportunity because that means you're going to go door to door and say, hey, listen, I'm supporting the library. They're looking for book donations. Do you have, and I will tell you that if somebody did that to my house today, they'd walk out of here with 10 to 20 really good books, and I would think they're really helpful. That's really cool. So how did you find those groups, right? I'm moving to Florida. I'm brand new in my area. Like how are some ways to find some groups to join? And don't just join real estate groups. It's going to be full of realtors.
Right. And that's what I was finding. Yeah.
She found groups that were not real estate based. Mm-hmm. And guess what? She's the only realtor. Or she's one of the only 2 realtors. So talk about how to find those groups, first of all. To grow your database.
So to find the groups, well, the Friends of the Library found me. The president came to my open house, and I didn't even know. And I didn't even know the services available in our small town. So she said I should join, and then I started researching. I said, actually, that sounds really good. That's something up my alley. My background, my degree is in education, and I said, that'd be great to support the children's programs at the library. So I went over there and checked it out, and that's when they seemed pretty cool. And then I found out about the book sale, and I started going around picking all up the books. And fast forward, after the book sale, it was a record-breaking book sale. We've never had such a high amount of money raised for the programs. And then I was asked to be vice president of the Friends of the Library because they haven't had anybody in a long time. They haven't had a vice president for a long time, and because there's no one they wanted to ask. And then they said, I came along, and they took me to lunch and said, would you consider doing it? And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. It's great. So there's that. The other groups, it just came out of me thinking, okay, I want to do something, and how do I get to know how to do it better? And I just started researching it. And then in the neighborhood enhancement team, that was something that came out of looking at houses in my neighborhood. And I saw a really distressed house. And I asked another realtor if he had been in it. And he said, oh yeah, that house, I've been in it. Oh man, it's so bad. There's mold and there's a hole in the roof and you could see daylight. And I'm thinking, that sounds really bad. And I did a little research and I found out that there's an 85-year-old couple living in that house. They were upside down, underwater in their mortgage, and it didn't look so good. And, so from my flipping background, I said, that's not good. And, people over profits. So I called this neighborhood enhancement team and I said, hey, I know of this house. I know it's not in the side of town we usually work on, but I know of this house that seems like they're elderly. They need help. And she reached out to them, and it turns out the man was a veteran. They brought in Veterans Affairs. They got the house to a saleable condition, not that it was perfect. And they got them moved somewhere safe. The house has now been sold and torn down, and it's going to be rebuilt. But that's just looking at how I see things differently. You know, another realtor had gone in there,
right?
but didn't see the opportunity to help those people. You know, another agent got the listing. You know, that's where I need to get. Like, I should have had that listing. Dang it, I helped them. You know?
Yeah, more aggressive. Maybe.
I feel like what
I
had to listen to, like, if I had to figure out like some of the common threads in this, right? One of the things I'm hearing and that I love is that all of it, I think sometimes in real estate, we're like, okay, well, I'm supposed to go join a group, so let me just go find groups. But everything you've done has been led by things you have an interest in or an experience with. Right. And I feel like that gives you the passion to see it through, right? Versus like, sometimes people will join groups and be like, I don't really like this group, or I don't like this thing I'm doing, but I got to stay here because I need a lead. Mm-hmm. But you just keep going with the things that you have a heart for, which I love, because I think that makes it authentic.
Working by referral is not some fairy tale world. It's real. I've seen it. And you can too. Invest in yourself by learning how to run your business by referral at Michael's upcoming live event. It will be a day filled with hands-on, how-to, low to no-cost strategies that you can implement in your business right away. Learn how to run a business by referral that not only feeds your family, but feeds your soul. Go to www.gengenevents.com today. That's www.gengenevents.com.
Well, and your passion leads you to a position of leadership, right? It is because you're so involved and you have a passion for it, then all of a sudden you're asked to be the vice president. All of a sudden you're asked to be on the beauty enhancement team. All of a sudden you're leading an event for beach cleanup, right? But the thing that above and beyond, even maybe not above and beyond, but a part of this is you definitely the passion. Pick your group based on your passion and follow it.
Yes.
The other thing is you never sat still, right? Shawn Woods did not sit at home and clean her pool and stick around home and hope that Facebook was going to grow her database, right? What you did is you kept moving. And a thing that we don't want to gloss over here is you also said, I did an open house. And that's where the gap, if you had not done that open house, you would have never met the lady from the library, and you would have never had the opportunity of being the vice president of the kids endowment, right? The kids program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't sit still, right? You were looking. But the other thing that you are doing really well is you see an opportunity to help and take it, people over profits, right? Mm-hmm. You see an opportunity to help, and regardless of the outcome, you help.
Yes.
Well, what you've seen is regardless of the outcome, a lot of times the outcome also leads to business opportunities.
That's
right.
correct.
So we need to be, it's so funny. Some people, you can literally hit them with a listing upside the head and they keep doing what they're doing, or they walk the other way,
Yeah.
So we need to be opportunistic as well. And I'm not saying opportunistic in a manipulative way. I'm saying when an opportunity presents itself, you take it, you follow up on it diligently and assertively, and see where it ends up. And for many of your cases, it's ended up with listings and buyers. And I'd like you to tell the story of one of the ladies that you met before you tell the story of holding your beach event.
Yeah.
Tell the story of meeting the lady during your beach walks where you were cleaning trash on the beach.
Yeah. So I was out walking one day, and we have mangroves that surround our river. So I call it trash yoga. So I get out there, and sometimes I see something way out there. I'm like, oh, I got to get that bag. So you can kind of climb out on these arms of these trees that are just above the water and, get the bag. So I'm out there doing it, and I come out of the bushes, and I've got this big bucket of stuff, and I run into Kathy, president of the Friends of the Library. And she's like, oh my God, Shawn, is that you? I'm like, yeah, hey, it's me. She's like, oh my God, I thought it was a homeless person. I'm like, oh my God. And she kind of intimidated me because she's a very proper lady and, a little bossy. And so, but I was so excited. I'm like, hey, look what I found. I think I had a shoe. I had all kinds of crazy stuff in my bucket. And I was so excited telling her all this stuff. And she's just looking at me slightly horrified, and we go about our business. We go on our separate ways. And so I get home and I'm on my Catalyst podcast and we're going along, but I don't know how to turn it off. This alerts come up, you've got an email, and I just read it really quickly, and it says, call me ASAP. I have a listing for you. And I'm like, oh, what? Oh,
that's from Kathy.
What?
Right?
It's from Kathy. And I'm like, holy moly. I'm like, well, this is important too. I got to do this. But I really couldn't wait to get off, be done, be call her up and see what's going on.
Don't be talking like that. Don't be saying you really wanted to get off Catalyst.
Well, I did want to get off Catalyst, but I'm like, I was so torn. But then I had to calm myself. I was so excited. I think I ran outside first and was yelling at my husband, oh my God, it's working, all these things. And I didn't
Now, hold on a second. All she said was call me.
I know, but she had a listing.
What it was for. It could have been hey, I think I found the other shoe. It could have been I found the other shoe.
It wasn't. I read it. I have a listing for you. And then I read where she works. She works.
Right. That is a different email.
Yeah. She works at an attorney's office, and, she's working on an estate. And so I was like, wow. But I was so excited. I had to really chill before I called her, because then it would seem like, I didn't want her to know. I'd never had a listing before. So I tried to play it cool, called her, and it was a really great opportunity and a great listing. And it was for a family that had very little resources, and they had a real mess of a place that they needed to sell. So again, I helped them. They didn't have the resources to deep clean. It needed paint. I mean, it was beat up pretty badly. So we got it to a state that made it very saleable. And yes, I helped them because they did not have resources, and did it. And it's going to close in about a week now. Wow. So, and they're getting more for it than they actually thought. They were looking in the $85,000 range, but we listed at $115,000, and we're going to settle pretty close to that when it's all said and done. Wow. Yeah. So I helped them, and I've made people, I've made friends for life with them, because they really did need that assistance. But I think the whole thing that we need to get out of this is all of these connections I've made, they're authentic connections, and they're not, I was going to these networking groups, and everybody's there, they're trying to move through people as quick as possible and just seeing what they could get from you. Everyone's there to take, and you could just sense it. It's not, it doesn't feel good. They're all there for
business, right?
Yeah, they're all there for business. What do you have that I need that I can take? What do you have what's in it for me, kind of an attitude. And so I just said, this kind of sucks. So
I can tell you though, that going in with leading with generosity in a group like that, can be a very quick differentiator, and you will find that 10% that are like you very, very quickly. So there is some advantage to the networking groups and networking with the top 10 or 20%. But this whole focus on, what you've done is you did what we should tell every person who relocates, right? So there's a lot of realtors who watch Referrals Podcast, listen to Referrals Podcast. And there's a lot of lenders and a lot of people in the real estate. And the thing that we should encourage people to do, every relocating client should get involved with at least 3 local groups, right? And one great place is group.me, right? Is that it? Group.me. So there's Meetup, and I think there's another one called Group.me. You might want to check into that. But Meetup is easy, fast, it's searchable, and you can instantly find 3 or 4 groups to get, and you're not going in for business. You're going in just to get to know people in your new area, right? Yeah. The business is going to come. The thing that Shawn really, has seen here is that these people don't know her in any other capacity except as a realtor, as a helpful realtor. So she had her realtor hat on. I mean, Kathy didn't know she'd never had a listing before. She just knew she was a realtor who cared about the community, and that was attractive enough, right? The generosity was attractive enough. Somebody who's willing to to, balance on mango grove trees, to pick up an old shoe is probably a good person to list your house, especially if that house is going to need some cleanup that may need some help. Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I could totally see why that opportunity came to you,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's another guy I met. He's an investor, and he comes down here for the winter, but he said that what I do is so admirable. He said, I got started like you. He used to have a company where he cleaned parking lots and, with the street little sweepers and everything. And he said, I really admire what you do, because that's how I got started. And now he has this whole investment portfolio, and he's asked me to look for properties for him because I have an investment background. Wow. And so I've got a couple in my neighborhood, and I'm also sort of a super sleuth and trying to find these people with these derelict properties, seriously distressed situations. And so I'm helping him. And then Kathy also wants some stuff too. So I'm working with them, but, I love it. I'm meeting my town leaders too through all of this, because I've gotten a lot of attention and people are raising points and asking the town to help. And town manager and council members came out to this event that I had on last Saturday. And
so let's tell us about that.
Yeah. So
last Saturday
I had an event. So
who invite, who came, how'd it go?
I invited people that I knew would come, that supported me, but I wanted to reach out further and kind of increase my sphere with people, with like-minded people who believed in what I believe in. So I went through Nextdoor. I created a Facebook page for our group. It's called Keep It Clean MPB. And through that, I made an event and sent that out to everybody. And then I made flyers, these really cool flyers on Canva. And I went around to all of the village office buildings at the rec center, public works, everybody, and had them put it up in the break room. I went to police, I went to fire. Well, it got around to the town manager, and he gave it on to our communications director, who put it in the village Facebook page. The village posted on Nextdoor and put it on everything. So I got about 16 people that actually came. A lot more had said they wanted to come, but they didn't come. Sure. But they were key people. I met an environmental attorney who lives 2 blocks from me, who brought her son out for community service. And she's a great connection. The town manager came. 2 council members came. A friend, the wife of one of my husband's high school friends when he went to high school here, she came with her friend. That friend knew the council. I mean, the small world, it just started caving in on me, how everybody was sort of connected and how it was all meant to be, that these people were my people that day. And it was
more like a magnet than a cave.
Right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so it was more like a magnet. Instead of it caving in on you, you got to watch our metaphors. It was more like a magnet attracting the gold, right? So what if we had a magnet that could actually attract gold, right?
Yeah, and that's what happened. Yeah. My gold attracting magnet pulled all the right people together. We brought out 110 pounds of trash out of our area, which was so funny because the communications manager was really concerned. He's like, I'm going to post this. A lot of people are going to see it, and a lot of people are going to come. And what if there's not enough trash? And then they're all discouraged. And I'm like, there's
going to be enough trash.
Yeah, there's enough. See, that's the thing. You have to change how you view things. It's like mushroom hunting. And when you look out there, all you see is this big forest until you start focusing in, and then you learn how to change your eyes, and then you start seeing those little morels out there in the forest. And people, when you look at our parks and you look at our streets, it looks like utopia. But then you start getting down there and you go on the river's banks and you turn around and look a different way, and you're like, oh my God, where did all this come from? So it helped change people's perspective, change their mindset a little bit. The town manager was like so excited and happy. Everyone was happy that I had done it. They saw the need to help with more resources. So they're going to bring a village vehicle in so we can, cart the trash off. I'm not, piling it in my station wagon. And it just really is going to help open a lot of doors, I think.
That is such a perfect metaphor for generosity and real estate, right? Like you come into real estate and you think it's this opportunity and you're just going to meet some people. And then you get in, you look a little bit differently. You just take a little bit of a different angle, and all of a sudden you start to see people you can actually connect with, people you can actually help, and different opportunities. You find more and more morels, and you find more and more connections and relationships, right? When you just look at it differently. And I think our industry is really in need right now of a re-looking at how this whole thing is in the context of relationships. With digital technology being so buzzy, so trendy right now, that coming in and reconnecting with generosity is a really big deal.
Yeah, leading with generosity is a key, right? I mean, that's what generosity leads to reciprocity. Reciprocity leads to referrals. Referrals lead to profitability. Profitability leads to prosperity, which leads to more generosity, right? And what Shawn has now that she will not have later is time. Right. So she utilized her resource time, and she gave time, you know, and you can give things that aren't money. You know, it didn't cost her anything to help clean up. She was getting exercise anyway. It didn't cost her any money to go collect the books for the library. It didn't cost her any money for any of this. The cleanup in her neighborhood didn't cost her a dime. Right. So it didn't cost anything. And yet the revenue, the results have been many, many listings and many, many opportunities. So it's one of those where, and the thing that Shawn did is she kept moving. We don't want to gloss over that you did an open house, right? We don't want to gloss over that when you got a listing opportunity, you followed up diligently and you did what it took to get it listed, you know? So it's one of those where, and then you had a keep it clean event, and some people might go, well, she only had 16 people. Yeah, there's 2 board members, there's an attorney there. So the best referral sources in the city, essentially, here's the thing. Would you rather have 1,600 people attend your event and none of them have any influence and probably would not give you any referrals? Or would you rather have 16 and 8 of them are influential, and when they say you should use this person as your realtor, they do it, right?
Right.
So I think there's so many positives to. Where did you organize your database? How are you keeping the information that you're accumulating over the last year?
I keep it in a CRM that I have, which is migrating over to a new CRM. So, and I've been flushing a lot of names out that that aren't as helpful to me. So I'm really trying to curate and grade the database so that it's much more useful. Yeah. And not that I'm getting rid of, I'm just moving people over I'll keep them on this, but I don't need to be focusing my time and energy on them. So, it's really helping me hone that down.
I want to ask this question sort of in wrapping up, because I feel like in recapping the sort of how you got here, how would you, if you had to do it over again, or you had to coach somebody who is moving to a new area, like what has life taught you in the last year for how to do this? Because you've had some great successes, and I think along the way you've had some great insights or aha moments. So how would you summarize this for somebody? Like, what's most important for them to do and focus on?
Well, I think the overall theme of all of this is I've always done what's practical, and you should do this because this is the way it's supposed to be done. And this is what, traditional wisdom says. And having to leave the home I've only ever known, my home state, having to make that decision and kind of like let go and just sort of let the universe drive. And that has been the biggest breakthrough for me. I've always been in control of my destiny, a little control freakish, and that had to go. And then getting here, it's like, okay, they're teaching you this is how you're supposed to do this. This is how you make connections. This is how you build a real estate business. And I started doing it. It just didn't feel genuine to me. It didn't feel right. And I, almost as a distraction, I just started pouring myself into other things. And even my husband was like, you got to get serious. We need to do some business here. We need to keep the income flowing. And I just said, I don't know. I got to do this. This just feels more right to me. And so just sort of letting go and letting my passion take me in that direction. And, every day in my journaling, I write about, my goals. And one of them is that I'm the most referred agent in my area. I'm known for my integrity, my community service and good deeds, and my hard work ethic. And, I feel that I'm becoming recognized for that because I believe in that. I believe in myself, and I believe in what I do. It's funny, right before my cleanup, another colleague said, "Oh, this is so great that you're doing all these wonderful things. Now only if you could monetize it." I just said, "You're missing the point." Like, I had to explain to her, but still I didn't get a response back. I still don't think.
Yeah, show her your check next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Hey, I'm having coffee, and I just slide the check over and say, "Yeah, so this is for my beach cleanup," right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been I love this story because I feel like it provides a lot of hope for people who are wrestling. And I think for people who are wanting to reinvent their stuff a little bit, this is how you do, I think, business with purpose and meaning. And I know that, Michael, the download for this episode is a Passions to Profit in Real Estate checklist. Like, if you want to look at, like, how do you start to really hone in this thing that feels more authentic? Well, there's a Passions to Profit checklist that you guys can get at referralspodcast.com. Shawn, if people want to reach out to you and connect with you, maybe they have a referral for you, right, in North Palm Beach. How do they reach you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm a public, not an entity, but my Facebook is public.
Public figure.
Yeah, Shawn Woods, ShawnWoodsRealtor.com. You can reach me at swoods@kw.com. It's my email.
Okay. Perfect.
And my phone number and everything's there. So.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Shawn. Michael, any final words that you want to share before we wrap?
Yeah. So first, thank you, Shawn. I appreciate you coming on as a guest. You're always so well spoken, and
thank you.
And have such great stories. Right. You're a great storyteller. And in the bigger picture, this is the year that we're doing the Army of Ambassadors tour, right? And it's the year to build your army of ambassadors. It's kind of like, going back to the environmental approaches, when's the best time to plant a tree, right? It was 10 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? It's today. It's the same way with your army of ambassadors, the people that is that, the best time to build your army was 10 years ago, and the second best time is to build it today. And we talk about this build your army of ambassadors, and we have the subtitle is win the war, enjoy the battle. And the thing about it is that the war is, it's kind of competitive, especially in real estate where you got 10,000 agents in a city and they could choose any one of them and you want them to choose you. And there's many ways to go about winning the war or winning the listing or winning the sale. But the thing that really differentiates what we're seeing with people that are listening to Referrals Podcast and doing the Army of Ambassadors techniques is that they're enjoying the battle. You are thoroughly enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis. You're loving it. You're having a lot of fun. You're sharing it. You probably don't even feel like you're working.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So win the war, enjoy the battle. And I just want you to know that I really appreciate you for showing people that, no, here is a concrete example of how to build your army of ambassadors, how to win the war, and how to enjoy the battle. It's about enjoying the battle. Enjoy the battle each and every day. And the battle is not against your competitor. The battle is against yourself, right? A better you today than what was yesterday. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. And I just think that people should get a ton of value out of today.
Yeah.
So,
I hope they do. I hope it inspires people.
Great episode, both of you. Thank you, Shawn, for your sharing, your wisdom. Again, if you guys want the Referral Podcast download, which is the Passions to Profit checklist, you can go to referralspodcast.com. Until next time, Michael, thanks for your time, and we'll see you later.